Hi, everyone. Welcome to PETZY Talks. Today, we're here with a vet professional on the PETZY network to discuss pet toxins. My name is Lindsay, and I'm on the social team here at PETZY, which, if you don't know, it's an app where you can talk or video chat with a licensed vet professional to get your pet health questions answered in minutes, all for only $20 a consultation. So, check us out on the Apple and Google Play stores and learn more at PETZY.com. Today, we're here with Brandon Son, who is a licensed veterinary technician and it also has received his board certification in emergency and critical care. Brandon has a long history of working in the veterinary field while specializing in the field of toxicology. Not only is he an LVT, but he also has a Master of Science and is currently a PhD candidate in the field of toxicology. So he definitely knows his stuff. Welcome, Brandon, and thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's get to it. And I think we'll start with the basics. So, what makes something toxic to our pets?
That's a pretty complicated answer, but the short version is that literally anything can be toxic to your pets or to you if an inappropriate quantity is consumed. So I think everyone knows that chocolate is toxic to animals, and it can be to people as well. It's just all relates to the dose. And so anything can be toxic. And I think that's why it's really important for people to have a better understanding of what can be toxic and what isn't.
What are the most common items or foods that are toxic to our pets?
That's a really good question. And I think there's a lot of factors that can be taken into account with that. I think the key thing to remember, again, is that everything can be toxic. And therefore, it's going to depend on a lot of factors that relate to what is the household environment like? What is the geographic environment like? What season is it in? And so, what kind of exposures each of these animals are going to have access to them. So with when I discuss regional differences, one of the key ones is that in those warm, wet areas where things are always wonderfully nice and green all the time, it's also great for things to grow like mushrooms and molds and other fungi. And if the pets have access to the outdoors, they're very likely to eat those. I mean, I think anyone that has a cat knows that they love to chew on plant leaves. And dogs love to chew on most anything. And so I think with the regional differences, that goes really well into seasonal, because even in those warm, wet areas, you get to different seasons. I'm in Colorado, and so during the summer, things dry out significantly. So there's a lot of time for those outdoor things to grow, and our pets to have access to them during the spring and even during the fall once things start to get wet and those the leaves are falling and able to grow things. So seasonal and geographic are both important, but then there's also household differences. So is this a household where there are children in the house? Is there access to a yard? What kinds of foods or medicines are kept in the house? How quickly are things put away? I think we all know you leave food in the fridge or on the table long enough, it will happily grow things just like the decaying material outside. And also medications. Think about cats, again, love to play with whatever they find, tossing things around, and pill bottles make great noise. And especially if the lid isn't all the way on or all the way locked, they have access to that. And then we obviously have our dogs that don't need to necessarily open the lid because they're willing to chew on and eat most anything. And kids, they have toys that are left out, or Play-Doh, or all kinds of electronics, wires. And so there's just lots of different exposures, especially with dogs that are prone to chewing and getting into things. And then there's also species difference, which I don't have time to go into all the toxins that are different between species, but there are a lot of exposures that can be more toxic to one species than another, or at the very least, they are more likely to come into contact with those. Um, so again, dogs are the most likely culprit. They're going to sniff out and try and eat anything that is tasty to them or that they even think might be tasty. Or as I'm expecting, we're going to start seeing a lot more of the anxiety response of, I know our pit bull Bruce loves, well, I don't think he loves to chew on things, but when we go away and he starts to get stressed because he's left alone, he will start to chew up things as well. And so that's definitely an exposure. And then we have things that are more toxic to cats, like acetaminophen or Tylenol is a medication that cats are even less able to process than our dogs or other animals. And they're also, again, with them liking to chew on plants. And we just passed Easter. So a lot of lilies are given and kept around the house, and they are very, very toxic to cats. So that's another species specific. And then we can even, the small mammals and birds all have their own exposures too. Like birds especially are very sensitive to a lot of aerosols and scents that can be going on in the house. So those Febreze sprays, while they make everything smell a lot better, can be a lot more toxic to birds. And so it's really important to keep all of these factors in mind. I personally, it's why I like the field of toxicology, is because there's always more to learn, more to explore. And when you combine that with veterinary medicine, you get these species differences as well as geographic, household, seasonal, and any other exposures that they're able to find, because our pets do like to find things to get into.
They absolutely do. Yeah, and it's wild to think that there are so many factors to keep in mind. But that is so good to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So my next question for you is, as you've talked about, sometimes our pets are sly and we don't even know they ate something that they weren't supposed to. So can you tell us a little more about signs or symptoms that can come up after a pet eats something toxic?
So I'd say the most common signs that you're likely to see when your pets have gotten into something toxic is some kind of vomiting, some kind of diarrhea, that they're going to be really lethargic. So really tired, not wanting to move, not wanting to interact very much, are probably going to be the three most common. But as with any substance can be toxic, it also is important to remember that each of these toxins is going to have their own signs that will make the animal present with something different. And some toxins won't give owners any sign that they've gotten into it until days afterwards. An example of this is rat bait, where some brands or types of rat bait, actually you won't see signs within your animal until 3 to 5 days after they've consumed the rat bait.
Oh, wow. Didn't know that.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. And so I think it also, there's a lot of benefits to keeping an eye on your pet and generally an open eye around the house, so that if you see some chewed up packaging, because more often than not, our pets won't eat the entire packaging. They chew the packaging open to get to what's inside, and then leave the remains for us to find. So being just generally aware, I don't think anyone needs to be searching their house all the time, but as they're wandering around, especially wherever their pets have access to, just keeping a general eye out. Since again, some of these toxins can take days before signs would show up. And at that point in time, we're looking at very different, potentially a lot more expensive treatment options.
Gotcha. So that's a good natural lead to our next question. What should you do if you see your pet eat something toxic or maybe see remnants of a package of something they shouldn't get into?
I think the first reaction of any pet parent is to contact a veterinary professional, whether that's through PETZY, calling a local emergency vet hospital. There are a couple different pet poison helplines that people can call as well. But I think that would be the most critical first step. Again, with every toxin being different, there's no set answer for how to deal with all toxins by just one response. And so I think it's really important to talk to a professional and find out, is this dangerous? Is this not? We've gotten a lot of phone calls relating to animals eating things that weren't toxic, at least not at the doses they ate them at. And so that's able to provide people with a lot of comfort that, okay, they're going to be okay. But it's better to always check on that, because you don't want to wait on something and find out that it was really toxic. And then you're worried about expensive medical bills or potentially even your pet dying. So as soon as you have noticed that they've gotten into something, I think the most important first reaction is to contact a vet professional, again, either PETZY, local emergency hospital, or one of the pet poison helplines.
Well, Brandon, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really passionate about toxicology, and it's great that I'm able to share some of this knowledge.
Absolutely. There's so much information out there, and I know there will be lots more to cover. So, for all of you pet parents out there, be sure to follow us on social media at Petsy App for more helpful pet wellness tips. And be sure to keep an eye out for more Talks info from Brandon, as this is going to be an ongoing series. If you have any questions in regards to your pet, toxins, and keeping your fur baby safe, download the Petsy app today so you can talk or video chat with a licensed vet professional in minutes so you can get your answers right away. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and happy tails.